Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to yet another edition of the Pure Digital Passion Podcast with me, Moses Kemibaro. Today's show is something that I've been looking forward to for the last couple of weeks, ever since I was a judge at the ICX, that's the Institute of Customer Experience Kenya event, where we were celebrating exceptional customer experience from a number of organizations. And during this particular event, one of the organizations that won more than two prizes, actually three different categories, was actually the NCBA group. And this gave me an opportunity to meet their team and, more importantly, meet their deputy director and head of customer experience, Elizabeth Okomba. So, Elizabeth is here with us today to tell us a little bit about her personal customer experience journey, the things that she's doing at NCBA Group, and more importantly, what we can learn from her about what constitutes or is involved in creating exceptional customer experience within organizations. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Moses. It's my pleasure.
So, Liz, I know that I've come to you very quickly, after just 2 weeks. And of course, last week you also won a personal award, if I'm
Yay.
not wrong. Maybe you can also tell us about that.
Thank you, Moses. So after the pomp of NCBA scooping 3 out of the 4 awards that were for the ICX Service Excellence Award, I won a global award. So now I'm a customer experience leader, and I was awarded for culture.
Fantastic. And as we say in blog world, we always like to, and podcasting, we always like to say being first is everything.
Yes.
So I'm delighted to have you on the Pure Digital Passion Podcast
Thank
to
you.
share with us your journey. And of course, congratulations again on your success in this area.
Thank you.
So, Liz, I'd like us to start off by you telling us a little bit about your personal and professional background, and especially more importantly, how this then led you into your current role heading customer experience at NCBA Group.
Okay. I'm currently a banker, a word that I've not used in a very long time because my background was in the airline industry. So I started off my profession in the airline, and I worked for Swiss International Airlines, and I had also the opportunity to work for Virgin Atlantic Airlines. That's where I exited my airline career and moved into banking. I moved into banking to start off a service excellence role at CBA. And I did that for 3-4 years. Then I moved to NIC. And that's where it gets interesting. I worked in NIC for another 3-4 years. And we had the merger that now formed NCBA. And the merger that happened, I actually did lead that particular merger. I was the merger lead, and that's how NCBA was born in October 2019. I then moved on to start a business process management department. I headed that at NCBA before I then moved back to my current role, which is the group head of customer experience and deputy director.
So it sounds to me like you have a multidisciplinary background in the sense that you've kind of moved within the organizations, but also different roles and different activities like the merger and the process management. Yes?
Yes.
And how has this been informing in terms of the customer experience role that you now serve? Has this been a key component in serving you today in terms of how you do your work and how you run your department?
From entering banking, being a non-banker,
Yeah.
and getting the roles that I've had, have actually been very surprising to me. Banking is very difficult and I guess a club in itself. So coming in from aviation and having to learn the ropes to the point of where I've given the opportunity to lead the merger and now actually settling the organization in terms of customer experience. I'm very honored and privileged to have that. Out of the various roles that I've had, I've learned a lot about banking. And now that's why today I can sit here and call myself a banker.
Yeah.
Something that I would not do a few years ago.
Now, let's talk a little bit about customer experience from the perspective of the fact, I think, in probably the better part of the last 10 years, I think the whole perception has changed. I think back in the day, we used to call it customer service. It was more like, if I can use that word, almost like putting a band-aid when things are not working. But it feels to me that based on me, especially as being a judge in this particular forum where I got to look at entries and of course saw the one that NCBA put in, which is a very strong entry. It seemed to me that this has become something that is almost permeating the entire organization, that it's no longer something that you just add on the top, but it has to really be almost built into the propositions, built into what you do. And maybe you can just tell us a little bit about that transition from just customer service, which is fix the problem, to making it a cultural reality within the organization?
So everybody understands what customer service is. Very few people understand what customer experience is.
Mm,
In fact, a lot of people ask me, "What do you do, Liz?" I really don't understand what you do. Now, the customer service that we knew of or that we know of is a reactive way of managing your customers.
yes.
It's when a problem has happened and the customer is reaching out to you either to ask a question or to get a problem solved. Now, customer experience is the most strategic way of managing the experience that your customers go through. So you think about it and you actually curate it, monitor it, and manage it so that you're giving the end product, the end experience that a customer actually wants. And that's what people do not understand. They think that customer experience happens magically, or the experience you want to give customers is something that will just happen. You actually have to plan for it. You have to
Okay.
be intentional about it for you to lead in that particular space.
And when you think about customer experience, sort of from a strategic standpoint, right, what are some of the implications and outcomes of that? Because some people might say, or some organizations might say, this is an expense versus an investment. But what are sort of the things you've seen within this function and role? How important has customer experience become to the success of organizations today?
The organizations that do not think about customer experience are actually treading on very dangerous grounds. Now, let me go back to why businesses exist. Businesses exist to make money,
Mm,
and you make money through customers. So if you're not thinking of the customer and the experience you're giving the customer, then how do you make money? So gone are the days of saying that customer service or customer experience is a cost to the business. It's actually the foundation of the business. If you do not put customer experience first, then your business is very short-term thinking and will not survive in the long term.
So when you're sort of executing your function in customer experience, and I imagine, even within the NCBA framework, you probably had to, I suppose, introduce it or to give it
Yes.
higher priority at the C-level suite. How did you go about possibly educating or creating that sense of urgency and importance so that customer experience is front and center of the corporate strategy?
Oh, that's the hard thing, and that's what a lot of customer experience practitioners are struggling with, whereby the organization, the board, the management does not understand what customer
Mm,
experience is. So drawing that picture and creating that importance in the organization has to be very intentional. Now, one of the key ways to do it is you have to ensure that your customer experience strategy is one aligned with the organizational strategy.
mm,
Secondly, and most important, is that the culture of the organization has to be a customer oriented, customer focused, customer obsessed
mm.
culture for you to succeed. And you have to have programs and plans into place to be able to drive that. Once everybody understands the direction that you're going and what it means to them and what it means to the customer and how you're returning, how the return on investment is showing to the business, then you're home dry. Before you connect those two, then you'll always be a lone ranger on the side trying
Mm.
to pull into a direction that most probably is in the opposite direction of where the business wants to go.
So what you'd say is that others who are in the customer experience practitioners,
Yes.
this is something they need to inculcate in the approach that they take to get, buy-in
You
and
cannot be a lone ranger.
mm.
You cannot be a lone ranger. You have to move with the organization.
Now, this is something I saw very clearly when I was looking at NCBA's entry into the awards, and of course, clearly one of the reasons why you were successful in, and very clearly articulated how I think customer experience cuts across all the operational aspects of the business.
Yes.
What does that take? Because for me, it almost felt like an orchestration of many moving parts that make it actually possible. Maybe you can talk a little about the technologies, the CRMs, and all these things that you sort of bring to play to make this possible.
Um, I like that you bring that point, Moses. Um, Customer experience has to be led from the front.
Mm,
And when I say that, it has to be led from the board so that everything orchestrates, the word that you have used, everything orchestrates. The organization is all pulling to deliver to the customer. Not one department. It's not an IT thing. It's not a list thing. It's not a HR thing. It has to be led from the board. So the board creates the vision. The board says we are going to be a customer-focused organization, and customer experience is going to come first. So when the board says that, then everybody aligns. And your overall strategy, the bank strategy, the business strategy, focuses on the customer.
Yes.
Then all functions, IT, HR, procurement.
Even procurement,
Yes,
yeah?
if you don't procure fast enough, then our customers are not going to get what they need to get.
It's a cascading effect, right?
Yes, security. Everybody is now
Wow.
singing about the customer.
Now, this is profound because so obviously there's the technical or the operational piece, but let's talk about the cultural side because I believe that sometimes historically people have always had a notion that banks almost have an antagonistic relationship with their very own customers. You know, the process of sometimes applying for a loan or when you need assistance, it almost feels like in many instances, at least in my memory, that they're doing you a favor. You know, whereas in this instance, it sounds like as a bank, you are literally putting them at the heart of everything you do. How do you move from that historical context to where now you are obsessed as an organization with your customers?
Maybe at NCBA, we had the opportunity and a golden opportunity to just step back and redefine. Being 4 years old now, we reframed, redefined our culture. So we defined our values, we said who we are and what we stand for. And the customer is at the center of everything that we do. And once we defined our culture and went through a whole culture journey of who we are, creating our identity, defining what our values are, defining what our behaviors are, we are driven, we are open, we are responsive, we are trusted. That is and we are the go-getters, and that's what we give our customers. Then from there, overlaying it on top, customer experience, the NCBA became very easy because the culture of the organization is a direct reflection of what we want for our customers. So sometimes it's a buzzword to say that we are customer obsessed, and many organizations say that. But when you look at their values and how the culture is, it's in the direct opposite of being customer obsessed and saying that we are doing this to deliver for the customer. So customer experience, I say it again, cannot be done by a department, cannot be done by an individual. It has to be organizational wide. It has to be led by the board. The vision has to be driven by the leader of the bank. But most importantly, your culture has to be right. Have you defined your culture and are you living it? As we say,
Yeah,
are
day
you
in,
living it?
day out. Yeah.
Are you holding teams accountable to that culture?
And that's across the board.
Yes. Are you holding teams accountable? And what are the structures you've put in place to hold teams accountable to deliver to the customer? Then it starts falling in place. But if you're in a silo thinking you're going to drive it, then you might do it, but it'll be very disjointed and it's going to be very difficult and there'll be a lot of frustrations. So culture is the foundation to customer experience.
Wow. Now, I want to go back to something that just came to my mind. I saw a lot of discussions and even during the awards event recently around the internal customer and how it is so important to also serve the internal customer to deliver exceptional external customer experience. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how that is critical. I think it ties very nicely back into the conversation around culture.
So at NCBA, we are 3Xs.
Uh-huh. Okay. 3X's. Wow. I like that.
Customer experience, employee experience, and brand experience.
Uh-huh.
The employee experience delivers the customer experience. The customer experience delivers the brand experience. Customers interact with the brand through the different touch points that we have as a bank. And those touch points are the ones that tell the customer, make the customer say good or bad things about the brand. So they cannot be in isolation. We can put our billboards out there saying, go for it, But if our customers don't feel us, don't feel the brand going for it, then we've not delivered. So our foundation, once again, I always talk about foundations, is ensuring that our employees have a good employee experience within the bank. And if you follow our awards journey, there was the Employee of the Year award that happened, I think, a week or two before the ICX award. We were second runners up for best place to work, best
Oh,
workplace.
fantastic.
So all these things you see, if you notice our journey and you start following the journey of NCBA, they're starting to come together. Employees are a very important part of us. We want to be the employer of choice. And how then we tie customer experience to employee experience is by the different activities we have within the organization to ensure that our employees are actually driving the customer experience. So I give you an example. We run an internal customer satisfaction survey twice a year. And we rate each other as departments. There are departments that give internal customer experience. So if my internal customer is, for example, I don't know, a business unit, they will rate me. And you'll start seeing that if our ratings internally are not adding up, then you see that when we go back to our external customers, we see it. We see the disjointedness. And when our internal customer satisfaction ratings are going up, we also notice that our external customer experience ratings are also going up. So you have to measure those because employees are delivering to the customer. All these things, you want to start asking me about CRM and all that. Who's doing that?
It's people.
Yes.
And teams.
Systems are just enablers.
Correct.
Systems are just but enablers. A branch is there, but they're human beings working at that branch to deliver to the customer. So if you're not monitoring the internal customer experience, you'd be doing yourself a disservice to go and start asking your customers about what is the experience.
Wow.
Yes.
So inward change or inward quality reflects in external quality as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you have a very unique experience, I think, the fact that you are leading the merger of these two different banks and bringing them together. I myself was an NIC customer for many years before the merger. I remember even at the time we looked at it with a bit of skepticism as customers. But obviously, it was not an easy process, I imagine. But can you tell us a little bit about that process and how maybe it also plays back into unifying culture and how that redefines customer experience? Because I think you had a very unique case. And then I think on top of that, you then went straight into the pandemic. And I would almost imagine there's probably an interesting element of how you started using digital transformation to deliver exceptional service at different touch points because now customers could not come into the branch the way they used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my
So two perspectives, the merger and of course, transformation as a result of digital and the pandemic.
I say this to anyone I meet.
I know why you're smiling.
And any opportunity I have to speak, mergers are hard.
Yeah.
Mergers are disruptive. You're bringing in two processes together of two different institutions, two products together, merging them into one product that you want to offer the customer, two systems together that you have to merge to deliver to the customer you've brought into this new institution. But Moses, the most difficult part of my merger is merging two cultures. That, if anyone asks me what I learned out of the experience of leading a merger, is merging cultures is hard. And for NCBA, it's actually a success story. Mergers take 3 years to settle if you're lucky. But you lose a lot of customers in the process, and you also lose a lot of employees in the process. So merging of cultures is hard, and that is what we concentrated on. That is what we concentrated on. And I'm happy to say we are now 4 years old, and we are now one NCBA that is delivering strongly to our customers. And we've just begun, and we are very excited about the journey that is ahead of us. So the merger experience was one that was eye-opening, but one that solidified the fact that for you to give your customers a good experience, you just have to be intentional. And that's the journey that we've been going through. ours was even more difficult because once we were done with the merger in October 2019, in February 2020, we had to go home and serve our customers from home. And yet we still had this whole roadmap of stabilization that was ahead of us, which we are just getting to the tail end, and happy that we are now getting awards and recognition for the journey that we have taken in place. But digital transformation is a big part of our strategy.
Mhm.
We are accelerating that, and we want our customers to benefit from that intentional journey that we are undertaking.
Mm.
Yes.
What are some of the specific changes you had to make in service delivery or service experience brought on by the fact that the pandemic came? Things that have now become part of your normal process, maybe it's new technologies, new methodologies. What sort of things did you have to do to sort of create these additional digital touch points for your customers?
One, again, starting from inside, we had to make it easy for our employees to, the go-getters to work from wherever they can
Mm-hmm.
and deliver for the customer wherever they can, but also enhancing our various online touch points so our customers can be able to transact in an easier way. So we have to ensure that our customers can deposit money into the bank and withdraw money at whatever point they want using whatever channel they have. So our mobile banking, our online banking, our ATMs, our cash deposit machines, we just had to make them more reliable, more convenient for our customers to be able to transact. We are also still not abandoning the branches. If you've been following our journey, we are still expanding our branches, and we should be at 100 branches by the end of next year.
Wow. Okay.
So, while everyone thinks that cutting back branches is the way to go, no. As much as we are strengthening our digital channels, we still want our customers to be able to reach us by increasing our footprint across the country and obviously the region in which we operate in.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to obviously establishing and making sure customer experience is at the core of what you do as an organization and within your department and your teams, what are some of the challenges that you see, doing what you do, maintaining such high standards? What are some of the things that one would need to think about to make this work for the organization?
You have to be able to take a step back and an audit of where you are as an organization and what you want to do. So for us, just where we were as an organization, just enhancing our systems and ensuring that we do work around our contact center, ensuring we transform our contact center and the way we offer our services to our customers. And most importantly, just defining our standards. What are the standards we want to give our customers? And ensuring that everyone in the organization is very clear about NCBA way. We want our way.
A unique way.
Yes, a unique way. That's hard. That's hard. And passing on this message to everyone and saying, this is the NCBA way. We want to know our customers. What does it mean by knowing your customer? And to know Moses. What are his struggles? What are his ambitions? Yeah. And how do I partner with him as a bank? We want to back you.
I know. I do know.
Yes, we want to back you. We want to make it easy for you to do your transactions.
Yes.
We want to be able to meet you at your point of need, give you a loan when you need that loan,
Correct.
an overdraft when you need that overdraft. Know when you need that overdraft, sometimes offering it to you when you don't even think you need it.
Yeah.
But most importantly, how do we wow you? How do we go over and above the service, the normal service that we give you? Moving away from being transactional to making sure that we have a tight relationship with you, Moses, and your business and your family. Yeah. That is our customer promise. So how do you ensure that everyone in the organization is rallied behind that customer promise?
True.
Yeah. We have key matrices in the customer experience space, and tracking that.
The data and the measurement is
on
key.
a day-to-day basis, and ensuring that we are holding ourselves accountable. What is the governance structure around the customer experience strategy? And the governance structure is being owned and you're being held accountable both by your group managing director and your board. Our board tracks our net promoter score and asks very tough questions about it and the other KPIs that surround customer experience. So there has to be that commitment. It does not happen by fluke. Customer experience does not happen by fluke.
It's
It is
something you
a
have to work on.
science.
I know it's scientific as
It
I'm
is a
learning.
science, but
Yes.
nobody thinks about it that way. Yeah. People think about customer experience about giving cakes and flowers.
Or the customer service week.
Yes, or customer service week. It's way bigger than that. Right now, a customer experience practitioner needs to know about technology.
Actually, you can't deliver modern customer
Where
experience
are my
without.
customers operating from?
It's very much data driven.
Yes, my customers are operating from the phone. Who am I competing with for for time? I'm competing with Facebook, Amazon, Google. That's the experience my customers have. So if my mobile application or a mobile application does not meet those standards, the customer will say we are jokers. Yeah.
Wow. So obviously, and I think this is something that I'm very proud of, the fact that, NCBA is a bank that was started here in Kenya. It works regionally. And clearly you're aiming for what I'd call world-class standards in customer experience. But in your view, what would you say is the state of customer experience in Kenya and the region today? Probably your organization is at the apex of standards, but what can we do to uplift or improve the standards broadly across the entire region?
There's been a huge shift in the last 5, 6, 7 years. There's been a huge shift. I see organizations investing in customer experience. Customer experience is being elevated. We have the likes of the Institute of Customer Experience who are holding us to account and ensuring that we are raising the standards across not only Kenya but Africa. So a lot has changed. The conversation has shifted. The conversation has been elevated, and the customer experience is actually getting even space in the boardroom. Yeah, we see a lot of organizations that are talking about we are a customer obsessed organization,
Mm.
and that makes me happy. And we're getting there. We are not yet there yet.
Yeah, but it's
Yes,
coming to
but
that.
it's coming there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's critical because, as you said, the customer is everything now
Mm.
in terms of longevity and success as a business. But I'd like to shift gears and maybe talk a little bit about the profession of customer
Mm.
experience. And again, not the customer service we knew, but customer experience. What are some of the things that you think a person who's contemplating or considering a career in this area should look at? In terms of what they could do to prepare them for such a role, and possibly maybe the kind of attitude or personality they need to have to be successful as a customer experience practitioner.
Fast. It's a very difficult role. Very, very difficult. And the one thing you need to have is passion. And your passion has to radiate because you have to be able to permeate your passion through the organization.
Mm,
You are visionary. You are leading the vision of the customer in your organization. Now, to lead the vision of the customer in the organization, sometimes it takes the fight in you because you are the ambassador of the customer. You are the customer in the room,
the voice of the
the
customer.
voice of the customer. You are the voice of the customer. So you need to be able to uh, be that person who's seen as the voice of the customer, seen as pushing that agenda and having the zeal of pushing that agenda. Now, customer experience practitioners have been sometimes labeled as being very emotional. So I tell my fellow colleagues, as much as you have the passion and zeal, also have the knowledge to drive your agenda. Don't be the one who's just bringing problems to the table and
Mm,
not helping the organization solve those
come with
problems.
the solution.
Sometimes not only coming with not necessarily coming to with the solution, but bringing a team together to come up with a solution and ensuring that you also help them, basically handhold them to deliver that particular solution, because you know what it means when you deliver that particular solution for your customer.
Mm.
So what are the key pain points in your organization, and how can you then rally teams around you to be able to eliminate that particular pain point? And when you eliminate that pain point, bring the teams together again to celebrate that we've won for the customer.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Now, when you ask me about the skills that you need to be very aware But it's becoming very evident that you have to have the, what do you call that? The IT.
You need to have some foundational understanding
Yes.
of the IT, the technology.
Yes, because you're going to have very tough conversations with your IT partners. You're going to have very tough conversations with your operational partners. You're going to hold HR in check to ensure that they're delivering the employee experience.
But
Yeah.
even finance, you
Yes.
need millions of shillings
Yes.
to acquire these platforms.
You need
yeah?
to be able to defend new initiatives that you want to bring into the organization and show the return that it's going to bring to the organization. So people look at the bottom line. Everybody looks,
Actually, on that note, how do you show the ROI?
everybody looks at the bottom line. So if you're not able to show the ROI for your initiatives, then that becomes a very difficult sell, and you'll struggle quite a bit. So how do you write your business cases? How do you show benefit realization? From a process perspective, customers returning, retaining
Churn.
customers,
Yes.
increasing share of wallet. Those are the words that need to be able to come out of your mouth. It cannot be from an emotional aspect.
This is not fluffy, yeah?
That my customers are not happy. Yes, customers are not happy, but
You need to have the backing of
yes,
the detail.
you need to be able to have the backing. And even if you do not have that skill, who do you need to partner with within the organization to help you demonstrate that whatever you're pushing for the customers will
Yes.
actually change the bottom line.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have to bring the numbers.
Yeah. So a customer experience professional now is becoming stretched in terms of the number of things they need to know. If we're talking about finance, you're talking about IT, you're talking about business because you're working with business. You have operations here. When you're talking about operations, how do you streamline operations so it's easier for us to deliver to the customer? Yeah.
Wow. Now, I think there's something that you also mentioned to me earlier that I think is important, and I think it plays into this broader conversation about the implications of artificial intelligence, things like machine learning, and I think this other RPA, robotic process automation, which I know you also led at NCBA. Can you talk a little bit about that and how maybe it's starting to sort of become a part and parcel of the customer experience initiatives that you're undertaking at NCBA?
Yeah. I don't know if it's the fourth or fifth industrial revolution.
Oh, the 4IR, yes.
For the customer experience space is data-driven customer experience. And how do you use that data to offer personalization to your customer? So in this fourth industrial revolution, we are now talking about artificial intelligence. And that comes up in generative AI, conversational AI, and all those AI things.
Yes, all those things, yeah.
Yes, using data to make decisions better. Customers want products immediately. So how are we using data for credit scoring? What is the next best product for a customer? Serving customers better. Now, insights. All the data we have within the bank, what are the insights that are going to help us to elevate the service that we're giving our customers? And how then do we tie data to our CRM to be able to help frontline teams serve customers better? Yeah. How do I know what Moses wants, what Moses' business wants, and how do I even help him see what he wants and he doesn't even know? All this is coming back to data. But now, not only data for the customer, but data for the internal customer. How do we make it easy for internal customers to work, to serve their customers better, to serve their customers more efficiently? Yeah, without having to move Excel from one space to another. Now, for example, one of the units that reports into me is the contact center. And one of the channels we respond back to our customers is through email. The technology is going so fast that right now, the equivalent of ChatGPT, if I offer that to my contact center agent, they don't have to spend time typing emails. The email is generated for them. They look at it and see, is it fit for purpose? And they just click send. It's increasing productivity. And they're able to serve more of our customers with higher quality. With higher quality. Yeah. We have, for example, when I talk about the contact center once again, We have
Yes.
all these agents who talk to our customers.
Correct.
That's a lot of data, a lot of data. So before we had to, or what we are currently doing, and we are going to soon move away from that, is from a quality perspective, for me to know that we are offering the quality based on the standards we have set. We have to listening to calls,
Which is
rate the
manual,
calls.
yeah.
How many calls do we get into the contact center a day? 5,000. If I go across the organization,
Wow.
maybe another 6,000 calls a day.
Wow.
Right now, if I get all that data and we're able to listen into the conversation using AI, get out key topics that are coming out and help us generate FAQs, address problems based on where our customers are calling in, using one person, as opposed to maybe a dozen people listening to calls, and we are only able to listen to one call or 3 calls or 10
It's not
calls a day.
scalable.
Yes, but now I can listen to 5,000 calls and get out key issues for me to make faster decisions, again, for my customer, to enhance my processes, to enhance my products, to enhance my services, to enhance my systems, again, for the customer. Yeah. So if I'm not aware about how AI works, if I'm not aware that robotic process automation can make it easy for me to deliver process of automation through process mining, to make it simple for me to make I don't know, do a payment process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then really, how can I lead customer experience?
So you're really in the mix. You're
Yes.
completely, you need to understand AI, you need to understand the payoff,
Yes.
potentially efficiencies, impact, in ways that were not possible before. And I completely agree with you on
And
that.
it's moving at a terrific speed.
So this is happening, it's coming. Wow.
It's here with us. It's not coming, it's here. So are you prepared, and how fast are you moving? And are you holding the rest of the organization and your partners who you work with to accelerate so that you can quickly jump onto that wave? Because Africa is not being left out of this industrial wave.
We're very much at the front of
We
it.
have to lead it.
Correct.
We have
Wow.
to lead it. We've been pioneers in the payment space, and we need to be at the forefront of adapting to AI and all the new stuff that's coming with it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think as I'm talking to you more and more, Lisa, I'm now understanding why NCBA is where it is on customer experience. You're clearly very well versed on the next practices, what is coming, more importantly, what it takes. And I saw that very much again in your entry, which was so impressive in the customer service awards. Now, I want to come back to kind of talking about the things that you would say to business leaders of organizations, large and small. What are the things they need to be thinking about going forward? Let's talk about the future, the way forward in terms of practices. We've already talked about AI as a technology. What are the things they need to be thinking about from your perspective to achieve that superior world-class customer experience, maybe in the context of the next 2 to 5 years?
Okay. First, customer experience has to be in the boardroom.
Okay, right at the top. Yeah.
Yes, because again, you only make money if you make your customer happy. Businesses exist to deliver to customers.
Yeah.
Most importantly, you have to think about your employees.
That internal customer.
Yes.
Critical.
Your internal customer is the one who delivers to your external customer. Employee experience, your employee value proposition has to come to the forefront. You have to invest in your culture. You have to have an intentional culture that is geared towards the customer. You have to back it up with technology, and that means investing in technology. Customers are interacting with us through our digital platforms, that's mobile phone.
More than anything.
More than anything. So if you're not delivering your services where it's mobile fast, you will lose a big chunk of the market that you are trying to attract.
What about training? Training the teams?
Training is there. Your team needs to know what they're delivering to their customer. So when you're talking about the employee value proposition and the employee experience, training is part of that. But not only training, how do you organize how do you make it easy for employees to access that information? Yeah.
Wow, that's important as well.
Yes.
Is it at their fingertips, so
Yes.
to
So
speak?
in big organizations like ours that have a myriad of products, services, channels, processes, policies, how do you make it easy for your teams to access that information so they can use it on a need basis? Because again, how much can the brain?
Yeah, on demand. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So it needs to be on demand. And how do you make it easy for them to also, have tools that they can access this information? If I'm out in the field and I'm selling to a customer, I should be able to just type 1, 2, 3, and everything comes out in a very easy way that I'm able to guide the customer I am in the field. So you have to invest in that knowledge bases. And now there's also artificial intelligence that's layering on top of your knowledge base.
Yes.
That now you now have your CRM. You see how all this is coming?
Yeah.
Your CRM, which now your salesperson is working with their tablet or their phone, and they can be able to access this information at the palm of their hands.
So increasingly leverage technology and also those processes and the
Moses,
learning.
customer experience cannot be, when you talk about the customer, it's the internal customer and the external customer. So for me, when I look at customer experience, I'm also looking at how easy is it for my frontline teams to serve a customer.
Bottom line.
Yes, something as easy as logging into, our core banking system. How easy is it? Is our core banking system user friendly? So one of the functions I lead in the organization is UI UX.
So basically, you're doing everything. It
No.
sounds to me like the modern customer
Yes.
experience practitioner, for lack of a better word, is almost a jack of all trades because it's all working together.
And now, I have to talk about user interface and user experience. And with that comes user research. When our customer is using our mobile app, is it intuitive? And how do I pass on that information to the developers?
But developers is a tricky one because in my experience, a developer will tell you it works.
No.
But somebody in customer experience says it works, but it takes 5 clicks for my customer to do what he needs to do.
Exactly. And you have to be able to articulate that. And the customer experience team is the gatekeeper of products and services and channels that are being launched to the customer. If you do not keep that and say, until customer experience signs off on the experience the customer is going to have with a mobile app or a product, then it cannot go to market. You have to be able to build that capacity that people say, has customer experience signed off? Because the customer experience person is going to look at the user experience and say, no, for me to do a payment transaction, I have to click 6 times. And yet another app, or when they're using Amazon, they only do 1 step.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to benchmark with that.
And you say, we are not ready. We are not ready. And teams have to be able to listen to you and say, okay, we are not ready. What do we need to do?
Wow. Wow. I think, Liz, you shared so much here today, but I would like maybe to hear maybe just a couple more responses from you. And I think one I'd love to hear about is, given where NCBA has reached already with customer experience, and you, of course, leading this function, what's next? What can we expect? What can we hope to see in terms of extending that leadership, in terms of growing that potential?
First, we are very excited by the recognition that we've gotten with the various awards that we have received. Personally, I'm very excited to win a global award, customer experience leader in the culture space. That is already a stamp of approval, and it validates that the work we are doing, we need to continue doing it, and we need to continue passing on the message that customer experience does actually make a difference. So for us, what we have done after the merger is laid down the foundation. So now the only way is up.
And keep going as high as you can.
And keep going and keep advocating for the customer. The moment you have the voice of the customer in the room and you are intentionally building product solutions for the customer, then you've won.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. Liz, I think you can end there. Thank you so much for your time
Thank you for
for being
having me.
and being on this podcast. And I'm so delighted I was the first person to meet you after all these accolades. And I just want to say that I'm so impressed. Like I said, I saw your incredible entry, the level of detail, the level of passion you sort of expressed here, but more importantly, the level of work that has clearly gone into making this a possibility and being essentially a regional bank, homegrown. I think is even more impressive because you're competing with very large organizations that are global in the space. But thank you so much. And also setting the standard
Yes.
for customer experience within the region, I think is fantastic.
Thank you, Moses, for having me. And yeah, I would also like to thank the NCBA Go Getters. This journey, I say, is not a Liz journey. It's an organizational wide journey that is led by our board and our group managing
Fantastic.
director.
All the stakeholders have to make
Yes.
it work.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And there you have it. Liz has shared with us her journey and also what they're doing in terms of customer experience at NCBA. The future looks bright. The future looks exciting. But more importantly, we're seeing that within the region, our own homegrown organizations are leading the best practices and even adopting the next practices within the customer experience space. Thank you for joining us on the Pure Digital Passion podcast. We'll catch you in the next one.